What's up, everybody? Aaron Feely back again with more White Sox Daily here as the White Sox continue to hit spring training. Some unfortunate news on the injury front as we'll go ahead and start right off the bat with that information right now. As on Tuesday, Wikelman Gonzalez ended up leaving the game late in that contest against San Diego. Wasn't sure what was going on with him at the time, as he just kind of in the middle of his appearance left with some trainers. We now have official word. It was a fairly significant lower back injury, which could sideline Gonzalez for a significant portion of time. And with the bullpen rotation still very, very much up for grabs, a huge competition with just a whole bunch of arms being thrown out there through spring training to this point, it certainly throws a bit of a wrench into the whole mix for Chicago and for Gonzalez, who made some appearances last year for the White Sox. He was okay. I was expecting to potentially come in here this year, earn himself a roster spot, and maybe try to make improvements, continue to develop. I'm just not sure that with him going down at this point, he's going to get necessarily the fairest shake in the world, but sometimes that's just sports. Life's not always fair, and unfortunately for Gonzalez, this could be a major setback considering he was not in a position to have any sort of guaranteed position in this bullpen. To now come out, especially considering that just before his appearance started, Chris Murphy came out and was tearing it up for Chicago. He was playing really well before Gonzalez ended up entering the game and ultimately injuring himself in the outing. Of course, last year appeared in 16 different games, played all right, as we just talked about. He was looking okay out there before he ended up going down with the injury. He was struggling a wee bit with his command, but other than that, was perfectly fine. And now it's going to be a hot minute before we see if he can keep that rolling in any capacity, how he was going to improve. In spring training, I mean, with the World Baseball Classic now firmly in place, it's up, it's here, not going to get quite as many opportunities against other teams' premier hitters. It's going to be a lot of guys not in a lot of these upcoming spring training games that you consider regular MLB regular season mainstays. So they'll be representing their various countries over in the World Baseball Classic. So by the time he comes back, will he have enough opportunities to put out there on film to still earn himself a position on this roster? That remains to be seen. It's just kind of an unfortunate situation there for Gonzalez. Also in the general pitching spectrum for Chicago, the Sean Burke roller coaster continues to be something of just an absolutely wild ride for Chicago. Of course, this time last year, he was a part of a huge competition to try to earn himself a spot in the starting rotation, and he did so well in spring training. He ended up being the opening day starter for the Chicago White Sox. And then, unfortunately, some things kind of ended up derailing for him there. Ended up being optioned down to AAA about halfway through the season. He did come back, ended up improving ever so slightly, continued to have first inning struggles, continued to battle through that throughout the year. Ended the season with a 5.56 ERA through that first inning. I mean, definitely something that was holding him back from taking that next step. They were hoping that would kind of be ironed out as he headed into this season. And then he had himself another rough outing last night as the White Sox just got absolutely thumped by Cleveland. It was just an overall ugly affair in every capacity for Chicago, as Burke was one of the primary contributors to it. Just as mean as that is to say, ended up pitching the first 3 innings, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits. He did get 3 strikeouts, but it was just more of the same inconsistencies from Burke to this point. In a starting rotation that was already going to be kind of weak as it was, because we just weren't sure who was going to be solidified in it, who was going to be involved for certain. We still aren't totally sure the 5th guy in that rotation was going to be at all. And then when you look at the fact that now one of the guys that you thought was even if not spectacular, surely at least solidified in there. He was going to be the third or fourth guy, right, in Sean Burke. And he just continues to be so up and down for Chicago. It's definitely a situation to monitor as we continue to roll towards the regular season and see what the White Sox are possibly going to do with this starting pitching rotation, because it is just becoming ever so slowly a nightmare scenario for the Chicago White Sox. We were really hoping that if they could just continue to pitch adequately, that now maybe the offense would take a step up. It looks like the offense is going to take a step up, and they're just not going to get the first thing. The pitching is taking a wild step back, and that's really unfortunate. I'm going to continue to be at least slightly optimistic and still hope for that competitive season, maybe try to compete in a weak American League Central. But yeah, the pitching situation, it's starting to really look dire. We'll still have to see if they don't add anyone in free agency. Still a number of names out there. But as of right now, not looking spectacular in that regard. Also not looking particularly spectacular, former first round pick, I should say, Jacob Gonzalez, taken in the 2023 draft by the Chicago White Sox, continues a bit of a career slide early on here in his major league career. He's been able to climb through the minor league system to this point, so that's been good to see. But for a guy that was at one point a top 5 Chicago White Sox prospect, and granted, a part of this is that they have acquired a great deal more prospects since 2023. They've been able to accumulate high-end talent to fill their minor league system with. But even before that took place, Gonzalez had been slowly slipping down those rankings. Now the lowest that he's been since joining the White Sox system came in at MLB Pipeline's top 30 per team rankings as the 26th prospect in the Chicago White Sox farm system. A guy that has seen his OPS start to really dwindle over the last couple of years. It just has not been a guy that made a jump in his second year, slid back down towards the end of that year, and then slid even further in his third year. Now, granted, part of that is that, like we said, he was climbing the rankings, climbing through the minor league farm system. So, yes, part of that could just be better competition as he reached AAA. Though AAA has been notoriously very pro-batter, very difficult situation for pitchers in AAA throughout most of recent history in the minor league systems, and the fact that he just wasn't able to get that OPS up there, to get his batting average up there. He hasn't been making spectacular contact. There's now some rumors starting to rumble that this could be seen as a potential last chance season for Jacob Gonzalez, which would be truly disappointing for White Sox fans. After, in his draft year, there was some talk pre-draft about him being one of the top 5 talents in the draft. He was supposed to be a guy that was going to be a very fast riser. A lot of the predictions said, he should be a guy that's MLB ready in a much shorter period of time than a lot of other prospects in that draft. One of his key strengths was that you were going to have him on your big league roster sooner than some of those other guys, and that just has not looked to be the case to this point. He is still very much struggling with professional pitching to this point, which was one of the knocks against him, that there were some questions about how his bat would translate from the college to pro game, even at the minor league level, and right now those are looking very well founded. We'll have to see how this 2026 season pans out for him, a guy that should have been one of the top infield prospects for Chicago. Thankfully, even if it doesn't work out with Gonzalez, infield seems to be a position where they are pretty well set as far as depth in the minor league system right now, but you can never have too much talent, and it would be great to see Gonzalez have a big bounce back year. And speaking of the White Sox infield situation, we talked about him a little bit in yesterday's episode, but then later on yesterday, after our episode aired, he went and did it again. Curtis Mead continues to shine for Team Australia. For the second straight day, he went 2 for 4. For the second straight day, Team Australia got a big win, this time to the tune of 5-1. And yeah, Australia now 2-0 in the World Baseball Classic. And Curtis Mead continues to be a huge part of their offense. Batted second again in the lineup, 2 for 4 for the second straight day this time. Hitting a home run in the victory, which actually got Australia on the board after they went down 1-0 early. So that was a huge contribution from Mead, and representing the White Sox proudly for Australia in that World Baseball Classic continues to be fun to watch. United States plays later tonight. You can catch that on Fox, I do believe. Should be another great year of the World Baseball Classic. I'm looking forward to it. Let us know how you feel about the United States' chances, or if you're from anywhere else around the globe, let us know where you're going to be watching from, where you're tuned in from, down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like any of the information you get from White Sox Daily here. And until next time, I've been Aaron Feely, and we'll see you next week.